what happened for the teacher?
Okay, we're now being recorded.
Yes, okay.
Okay, can you mute Luis's mic, please?
Who?
Faisal? Okay, perfect. Okay, so here today we're going to look at Google Sites, and the first thing I want to talk about is why you would want to use a Google site. Okay, the better question would be why wouldn't you want to use a Google site? Because there are a number of great reasons to use it. It's quick, easy, and free way to have a website. It's a way for you to reach out to the community, which unlike Google Classroom, where it becomes sort of a private area for people to get to resources or get to things, this is one that you can make more public if you need to. It's great for student projects. You can give students projects to do. It would actually be great for La Casa Dominicana, some of the people to be able to do some things to practice their language skills and things like that. You can augment a lesson for Google Classroom, meaning that the lessons in Google Classroom could get cumbersome if you add a lot of material to them. But if you stick them into a Google site and then make a link from your Google Classroom to your Google site, it actually augments the capabilities of what you can do. Many schools are actually creating their own web pages with it, and as you get into more advanced applications of it, you can actually apply your own domain URL to them if you like, your customized ones. It's a very easy way to share a presentation. Anytime I do a workshop, I usually make a site of some kind, a Google site of some kind, and share the URL with the students, and then I put all my resources there rather than printing anything and handing them out. And it's in its advanced levels or somewhat advanced levels, it's an easy way to share a file. I guess it suffices to say it's just easy. So the rest of the tutorial here or the presentation is again just animations of what I'm about to do in case you need to review it for later. And so we'll just get started. So I'm going to get out of my presentation and I'm going to go to Google Drive. And I'm going to start a new site from scratch. So to start a new site, I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to go to More, and I'm going to go to Google Sites. And everybody's site starts out looking exactly like this, okay? We have our tools over here on the right. You can see there are tabs, there's insert, there's pages, there are themes. At the top are some preview tools. And of course, when we're finally done and have our site the way we want it, we can publish our site so that we can make it available to the world if we choose to make it available to the world. So the first thing we want to do is, well, we give our site a name. Up here, and I can change my page title. And if I want, I don't have to be stuck with this gray, charcoal gray banner here. I can change the image. To do that, you have to bring up the menu bar to do so. So if you mouse over in the banner, you just can click on this down arrow and select an image. You can also upload one from your computer. However, it can be cumbersome if you don't know how to get an optimal size for it or something like that. That's something I look at more in an advanced class. So that's the general idea. I'll just pick this one here. No, I don't like that. I'll do this one. And there I have a nice banner. I can also change my header type to various different sizes. I can go for large banner, which makes it a little bigger to the one we just had, or I could actually do one called cover, which makes pretty much like almost a whole one-page site, even though I can put text and other information below that. I'm just going to go to the regular banner, and now I'm pretty much good to go with the top portion of my page. The next most important thing to be able to do with any website is to put in some text. I have two ways I can do that. We can always do it from the insert menu right over here. And when I click on the text box, it will give me just that. It will give me a text box, and I can resize this to create a column. These columns figure into what's called responsiveness of the site, which means it adjusts for phones and iPads and whatnot, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Here, I can just start to put in my text. Now, I'm going to just put in hello or something like that, welcome. And I can format my text. Has a limited amount of formatting for the text. There are technical reasons why it's limited, but it's really not so bad because you learn to kind of work within the restraints. I can make something a title. I can make something a heading, which is a little smaller. And then, of course, they progressively get smaller. I'm going to stick with title for this. And then for where it says welcome, I'm going to do heading. So if you sometimes want larger text and the plain old normal text is too small for you, sometimes I'll actually type things in subheading or heading mode if I want to put larger text on my page. You'll also see that I don't really have control over the color of my text. That is dictated actually globally by the theme you pick. So the themes are chosen over here on the right. And if I take a theme, you'll see I have these different ones. Now, look, I'm going to click on this purple one. And you see how my text turned that color because now it's coordinating with the theme. And as I add some of these other subheadings and headings, they also will be coordinated. Okay, I also have, just like any good text editor would, I have a left, I have my center, and I have my right justify, and of course my justify option for my text justification. If I need to put in a link, I can select my text and add my link here. That will link me to the college. Okay, so you can see how that makes a hyperlink nicely. The next thing I'm going to want to do is put in an image. Okay, so I have various different places I can get my image from. I can upload them from my computer. I can get them from my Google Drive, or I can do what I'm about to do, which is search for an image online. So I'm going to do search for an image, and I have a choice of uploading or select. I'm going to pick select, and I'm going to click on search, and this brings up a Google search bar. So I'm going to search for palm trees. I don't know why. I'm just searching for palm trees. Perhaps it's wishful thinking. So I'm going to grab this little set of them. I like this one right here. So I'm going to put that in. I just double clicked it to put it in. And now I've got an image of my page. I can resize it. I can move it a little. And I can do various other things with it if I like. But this is an introductory level workshop, so we're going to stick with the absolute necessary basics as we move forward. So now that's pretty simple. I've just got my my image and my text, and I can continue to do these kind of things. What I've created here, you see how this has its own block to it when I mouse over it, it's grouped together. These are sections of the page, and Google Sites makes these sections as I create things. So if I were to put in another text box, see, it'll make a new section. So now they're two separate ones. See that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this top section. And if I want to change it a little bit, it has something, it gives us the ability to do something it calls emphasis, which basically allows us to change the panel color of that area. I'm going to make this one purple. Now look, this next one that I made, I can make this one gray. Okay, so now I can start to get the various different color, and I can maybe leave one white, and it helps you differentiate the various sections of your page should you need to do that. So that's pretty nice. Now in this section, this next section, I'm actually going to delete this text box. If you want to delete a text box, you can just click on it, and the little trash can will appear, and I can just delete it. And what I want to do is focus on these things over here on the right called layouts. And you have various different ones, and if I show you how one works, you'll kind of see how they all work, and it'll make more sense of what these look like. But what this is, the layout I'm picking here, gives me the ability to put in two images lined up with some text and information below them. So this is nicely templated out for me, nicely evenly put together. I could easily do this manually, but why would you want to when it's done for you like this? And this is great anytime you want to, put groupings of images together. I could even make these images buttons or links to other places if I want to do that. So I'm going to click and to insert an image here within the template, I just click on the plus sign. And again, I have my various different options. Look at what else I can put in here. I can put a YouTube video, I could put a Google Calendar, or I could put a map. So I'm going to click select image, and I'm going to click search, and let's do the ocean. I want a picture of the ocean. I think I'm doing a little vacation theme here. And oh, this is nice. Look at that. Okay. So I can put that in, and I can now I can click, and you see I have the I can put in a little caption for my image. I could put beach or playa. Okay, and in here I can put in some more text about the beach, maybe a description of what it is. Or if I don't want to have that in there, I could just click this little trash can and just have the caption without it. So, I can put in all kind of nice images and get a pretty nice little site here. Let me very quickly throw one in here to balance this out. Okay, we're getting nice and tropical here now. Okay, but do you see how the image adheres to the size of the template? That's the thing that's really nice. It really gives you a solid layout. Okay. And so, all these work the same way. As you can see, this one has, gives me like 3 across as opposed to 2 across. And I think you get the idea. Okay, the next thing we want to be able to do is start to insert some of these other types of things. Now, the great thing about this is the way it can integrate and the way you can combine anything you've made in Google Drive. So this links me to all of my Google Drive types of applications. Additionally, if I click up here on the icon that says From Drive, that just gives me the option to find anything on my drive, even if it doesn't fit into the concept of a Google Drive doc, which could be a PDF file or maybe even like an audio file or something like that. Okay, but I'm going to put that away for now, and I'm going to stick with the ones that we have down here. Okay, so the one thing I have here, look at this, I have a divider. If I wanted to sort of separate my page a little bit, just show division of some kind, I can just put in that little divider. Nothing special about that. You might barely be able to see that on the screen, but it is creating a little horizontal line there. So I'm just going to go down the line and talk about the various different things that can be inserted into a Google page. So the next thing I have here, my next option is YouTube. And this is a wonderful way to share a YouTube video, mainly because when you go to YouTube, it tends to have so many distractions with comments and other videos and other things flying all over the place. It sometimes is hard, particularly in an academic setting, to get people to focus on the thing that you want them to see, which is actually the video. So if you embed one into a Google site, the video is clean and it kind of rids the viewer of all those things. So if I click on YouTube, it just gives me a search option. Now, if I want to look for a particular topic, I can do a search. I'll do scuba diving. Who doesn't go on their tropical vacation without a little snorkeling? So I can look here. Now, one of the things I like about this is when you do a search, you can actually preview your videos from here, but it also shows you how long or short the video is. Like, for instance, here's something, my first experience scuba diving, whatever. It's only 4 minutes long. So a 4 minute long video is good, and particularly if I know that I don't want something too long. So it kind of gives you an idea of how long or short your video is. Once I've found one that I like, I will, let's see here. Look, I don't know. I don't endorse any of these videos, so if something comes up that that's not good, it's not my fault. We'll have to mute it out on the video. But I'm going to hit select, and here's the video, and I can resize it within my page if I want to make it bigger or smaller. However I want to do it. If I make it not quite fit the panel, I can actually move it left or right to center it. And now my video plays right inside of my page. So, this is great. Sometimes I just make entire pages of various different videos to see. Now, I'm going to remove that for now, okay? And I want to add some other things that can go in here. The other thing that's really handy is that this has a calendar capability. And if you've made a Google Calendar and you need to share it with the public and make a nice, easy access to it by embedding it within a site where people are already going for other things, then you can use the calendar this way. So if I click on the calendar, there it is. I get to pick what my calendar is. Let's see here. This is where's the little thing we did here? Here's the thing, the calendar that got made when we made our Google Classroom yesterday. Okay, so I'm going to select that calendar, and it's going to put it into my page. Now, it doesn't look all that cool when you put it in, but we're going to make it cooler. Okay, so if you look at this, you'll see that this puts this into like an agenda view. Okay, now if you most people don't like that view unless, of course, they want to see an agenda. But the view that most people tend to want to look for in a calendar can be acquired under settings. So if I click the settings button, you'll see that I have all these different types. I can show or hide the title. I can show or hide the date. I think the date would be good. You have all these various different options. Time zone, that could be handy if you're working in the international world. And I can also change my view mode. You see this one says agenda. Let's do it to month. And if I do it to month, I'm going to click done, and there you have a real grid of a calendar, which goes nicely into a page. Now, as you can see, anything that's been entered in the calendar, which were some of the assignments that we entered in our calendar yesterday, they will show up here. Additionally, if I go back to that calendar and add something to it that's not here, it will show too, because it's a dynamic embedding of the calendar. Anything that happens to the calendar behind the scenes will also happen here. Also, keep in mind, this is very important, anything that you want to share or show on a Google site needs to be shared with the proper sharing privileges on your Google Drive. So that means if I embed this calendar and the people who are viewing this page do not have permissions to see this calendar, this whole panel right here that I'm making gray will not show at all. Okay, it will just be blank. It won't even be blank. It'll just be as if it never happened. Okay, so be sure if you're sharing things off your Google site, make sure you share give the proper sharing privileges to the actual object itself. Now I'm going to click out of here, and I'm going to move on to the next thing that I can put on. I can put in a map. Okay, so I'm gonna do my map to someplace, and I'm just gonna click. And I love the way this works, because if you're hosting an event and you want to put up a place for people to get directions or an address or something like this, this is a wonderful way to show it. So I'm gonna do, since I'm on my tropical vacation, I'm gonna do a map to Brigantine, even though it's not that tropical. Okay, but it can be tropical-esque in the summertime. So I'm going to click on here, Brigantine Beach, New Jersey. Okay, so there's the map. It locates it nicely, and I can tap to zoom. Maybe I want to zoom into a more specific spot or whatever. There it is, and I'm going to hit select. And when I hit select, it's going to put that right into my page. So now I've got a map embedded in the page. Okay, now this is a good time to take a look at the preview mode, because what we've been looking at up until now is what we call draft mode, which is where we design the site. What we need to do is look at what the site will look like to the people who actually visit the site. So in order to do that, I go up here to the very top where you see it looks like a picture of a monitor and a phone. I'm going to click that. That's my preview button. I'm going to click that, and it gives me a look of what the site will look like when somebody visits it. And you can see how nice this is. Okay, so I can scroll down here. Now look at this. If I'm visiting and I need to get to Brigantine Beach and I'm visiting the site, I can just click here for directions. And it pops in the actual address, whatever address it is you put in, and then it allows me to put in my starting point, and it will return directions to me. So this is a great way to get directions to people if you're hosting an event of some kind. So I highly recommend using that feature because it's really good. Additionally, I want you to take a look at how this site is laid out, because I want to show you another thing we can do in the preview mode. In preview mode, you'll see this little toolbar appears where my mouse is over here, down here on the right-hand corner. And if I click this icon on the far left, this is what my site is going to look like on a phone. As you can see, what was laid out horizontally is now laid out vertically. Okay, that's the way responsive sites work. Okay, so those text boxes that I made are being divided, are creating where the divisions go for these various responsive breakpoints. Now, if I click the next one, this is what my site will look like on a tablet or an iPad or something like that. And then if I click the next one, this is what my site will look like on a desktop computer. So you can see that it is usable from all those three views. Now I'm going to click the X to go back to my design view. And we're going to continue to add more things. Okay. The next thing, actually, I think this is a good time. We're going to continue to add some of these things, but I think it would be nice to put this on another page because this page is getting kind of crowded. So the next step I want to do before we start to add more input is to work on adding a new page. So I'm going to go over here to Pages, and you'll see that the only page I have is the default page that I made, which is called Home. What I want to do is add more pages to this, and you can add quite a few. I'm not quite sure if there's a limit. I guarantee whatever the limit is, you'll never reach it. But if I click on this little plus sign at the bottom, I have a choice of link and new page. We're going to focus on new page for now. So if I click on new page, watch what happens. I'm going to click on the plus sign, and I'm going to give my my page a name. I'll just call it resources, and I'll hit done. And now it makes my resource page. As soon as it makes the page, it navigates you over to the page. But this is the nice and magical part of what happens when we do this, is that look at the top of my screen here. See up here where look at this, I've got home and resources. So as I create a page, it's going to create a menu option and build a menu for me. So let's add another one. Okay, I'm going to do one called dining. Okay, and I'll hit done. Okay, and I'm going to add one more. I'll do one called hotels. Okay, so if I were building a little site for Brigantine or something right now, I'd be adding information on all of these. So now if I want to edit any of these pages, I would simply click on the page that I want to go to work on, and then I would just go over here to the actual canvas on the page and continue to do my editing. Now look at this. I'm going to click back on resources. Now look at the order. Let's say that I want resources to be last. I mean, resources aren't nearly as cool as dining or hotels. Okay, so if I want to change the order of these menu options, I simply drag the option over here on the right. So I'm going to do dining first, then hotels, then resources, and you can see that at the top I have that. Okay, so So that's how we control our pages. Now we can get deeper into like sub pages and things like that, but at this point, this is how it works. So now we have a full navigation of our site. Okay, so now let's start to add more stuff. Let's go to the resources page and add some things. Now, in order to do that, I have to go back to my insert menu. So I'm going to click back on insert, and we've done map. I want to show you what it looks like when you enter a Google Doc, because it's nice to embed a Google Doc, particularly if you need to share it for a classroom type situation or something like that. So I'm going to choose, when I open this, it'll open up all the docs in my Google site. You can always do a search up on top if you're looking for something specific. And I'm just going to double click and put in a document. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And before I move on, I'm actually going to preview this and let you see what it looks like. So I'm going to click over here on preview. And this is going to load. And this is what it does. It goes into an embedded page, which gives it its own scroll bar, and you can utilize, get to anything in the document this way. So this is really cool. Remember, this document needs to be shared if anybody's going to see it. Okay, so you have to make sure you give it the proper sharing privileges from Google Drive. Okay, so I'm going to click out of here, and now that I have that in there. Actually, I'm going to take that out because I'm running. I just want to say I'm just doing it for keeping it clean. Okay. The next thing is Google Slides, and I totally encourage you that if you use Google Slides, embed them into your Google sites because they look great and they work great. Okay, so I'm going to add a slide here, and let's see here. I'm going to do let's do the slideshow from yesterday's presentation, Google Classroom. So if I click this, it puts it in, and I can make it bigger if I like. And again, I want to preview this. So I'm going to click preview, and I can click through. You see how nicely that works. You can also have them timed to run automatically and lots of different things, but this works really nicely. And if you put that into a page and change your emphasis, you can get, it looks really nice. Okay, it's particularly if you have good images in your Google slideshow. So that's embedding a Google slide. The next thing we can do is we can embed a form. Now, the great thing about embedding a form is that it puts the form, again, just like everything else, it grants easy access to the form. So I'm going to find a form to put in. Okay, this will be this is a quiz of some kind, whatever. And you can see now that the form now just lives right in the page, and it creates a very easy access for any user who you want to fill out the form. This is a great thing to do if you need a survey to be filled out and you want to eliminate the need for the person to click to get to a survey. So I'm going to preview this to let you see what that looks like as well. So there's my form right in the page. So see, I can just fill this out right here and hit submit. Okay, so it just goes right into the page, and that's great. So let me X out of this and move on to the next insert item. Now I saved sheets and charts for last because charts in particular works a little differently than the other stuff. So I'm going to take this form out of here, and I'm actually going to take the presentation out of here. So I want to put in a Google Sheet. So if I go here and I want to put in a sheet, I can put in some kind of sheet here. Let's see, what do I have here? I'll just do this. So here's my Google Sheet. Now, if I have tabs at the bottom of my sheet, it allows me to navigate the tabs. Let me show you what I mean. So in this particular sheet, this has all the various tabs that you would see at the bottom of a Google Sheet, but now I have the ability to navigate them. Now, the other thing is, look at this one. This one has a chart in it. which is right here. You see how I have this bar chart? Now, if I just wanted that in the page and I wanted to bypass the sheet, I can also do that. And the way I do that is if I click on this, I'm just going to trash it, and I'm going to put in my my chart. Now, the way a chart works is a chart is attached to a sheet. A chart is a sub-concept to a sheet. So in order to put in a chart, you have to make sure you go to a sheet that has a chart. So we know that this one has a chart because we just saw it. So I'm going to click on it. Whoops, I didn't do that right. What I need to do first is select charts down here at the very bottom. And I'm going to put in the sheet. Now, see, if I had lots of charts in here, I'd be able to scroll through and search and see, to find the one I want. But I only have one in here. So all I have to do is select it and hit add. And sure enough, there it goes. I can just put that in. Now, this chart is dynamic. So if the values on my sheet change through time, so will the values on this chart. So that's great if you can actually keep current data showing on a site if you need to. So we really like that. Okay, so let me get back to my area. So we've pretty much entered most of the things that you can put in here. For the most part, the embed command enables you to take embed code from somewhere or from a URL and put that in. If you need to do that, that's something that's a little more advanced, just letting you know it's there. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is publishing. And publishing is very important. And it's also very important to know the various different choices that you want to make when you're publishing. So I'm going to click up here on publish. And the first thing it's going to do is ask for, it says web address, and it will pull the name. See my name from the top left corner? It will pull that in here, and it will create this link, which is your URL. This is your link to your site, okay? This is the link you would give to people if you want them to come to your site. If for some reason what you've named it is not available because somebody else at sites.google.com/stockton.edu has La Casa One, I wouldn't be able to call it that, and it would tell me that that name is already taken. So you have to be careful to make sure you have a unique name, or it won't let you publish the site. But before we publish, we need to manage our settings. Okay, now look at my settings here. This says who can view my site. Well, it says anyone at Stockton University, which is fine if I only want people at Stockton University to see my site. I would prefer that more people see my site. So I'm going to click on Manage. And this is fairly similar to most of the share boxes in Google, with the exception that you have two different types to share here. Look at this. I have draft here, and I have published here. Okay, published is going to be the finished site that everybody looks at. Draft is what I would do if I wanted to invite somebody to help me to be a co-editor or a collaborator on the site. So draft is where people can get to actually do what we've been doing, which is adding content and editing content. Okay, whereas published is what we do, is what people are going to see when it's a finished product. Now, I want to change this because I don't want it to be just Stockton University. So I'm going to click and change that, and you'll see that I have a choice of Stockton. I have a choice of specific people. That's nice. If you just want to make it so that only specific people who have maybe bought into something or whatever they're the only ones who can see it, that might be a good way to go. Or I can do anyone can find and view the published version. I'm going to select that and make this a public site. And I'm going to hit save. Okay, I'm going to hit done. And watch this. I still haven't published it yet. I've just set the settings. But look here, it doesn't say anyone at Stockton anymore. Okay, who can view my site? Anyone. Okay, see that? So I'm going to click publish. and it takes a few seconds, and you won't see anything really change because you're still in your draft design mode. But if I click up here to the arrow on the right-hand corner of publish, I can do publish settings. Okay, so I'm going to click here on publish settings. No, actually, I don't want to do that. I want to go to view published site. And there it is. This is the site live. So this address right up here, if I copy that, that's what I want to do. If I want to email this to people, or if I want to put it on another website and link to it, this is my link to the site. This is how I get here. So you have to keep that in mind. If you need to get your URL, that's the quickest and easiest way to do it. Now, because I am the owner of this, I have the little pencil down here that takes me right back into my editing mode. So this will take me back so that I can edit my site. And now I'm back into editing mode. Now I just want to talk a little bit about some of the other icons up here. Up here at the top is basically the same sharing settings that we were looking at before. This is a place where you can work on them if you want. So if I wanted to include a colleague of mine into collaborating with me on this, I could click on specific people and I can put in names of a colleague, and I can invite him as a collaborator on this site. So I'm not going to send an invitation. So now I'm done. So that's how that works. Now over here you'll see the kebab menu, and these are the various different options we have. We have site analytics, which that gets a little complicated, but it technically it will actually track the visits of your site and allow you to find how many people have been hitting your site. You can duplicate the site. Why would you want to duplicate a site? Well, what if you made a site where you worked really hard on it and everything was really good except for the fact that you wanted something that looks just like it but had different content in it? Then you could duplicate your site, at which point it would show up in your Google Drive, and you could replace all the content that we put into this site with a new one. And add a favicon, that's something I usually cover in a more advanced workshop. But I'll explain what it does is that when people visit your site, it puts a little picture up here in the top left corner that can be like a logo or something that is something symbolic of your company or yourself. So the only other couple of things that I want to do for this introductory level is go back to my original page. And while I'm up here, I want to look at the fact that you see the menu bar that gets designed here when I create my pages. Another thing I can do to control that is I have a choice of if I want to keep it up here on the top, or do I want to put it on the left, going down the side, which I don't think looks as good, but sometimes for certain types of sites, it might be the right choice. So if I click over here on my settings, see, I have to mouse over this menu area bar for that to show up. I'm just going to click over here on my settings, and I'm going to select side navigation. Right now it's set to top navigation. I'm going to go to side, and I'm going to click that. Now, when you do that, the only thing you see that happens is that your navigation completely disappears, and then you panic. But you shouldn't, because for some reason, this view is only available when you preview. And when I click on my preview, you can see here is now my side navigation. Now, I'm going to X out of this and go back, and I'm going to reset this to top because I prefer that. So I'm just going to click on my settings and go back to top navigation, and now it's good. Now what I want to do is I want to do something in my home page, so I can just click that from here. And you can do a certain amount of image editing within here when you put an image in. So actually, you know what? Let me go to one of my other pages. Let's go to hotels. Okay, and I'm going to look for an image of a hotel. So I'm going to insert an image, and I'm going to hit select, and I'm going to put Brigantine in. I don't know if I'll find an image. Whoops, I put it in the wrong spot. I needed to put it in search. I put it in URL. That's never going to work. Okay, so I'll hit search, and well, none of these are hotels. So, but let's use a ship, okay, because that's what got returned, and who cares, because all I want to do is show you how to do some photo editing in here. So I'm just going to click this, and I'm going to insert it, and it should go in. Give it a second. There it is. Okay, now let's say that I only wanted the front part of this ship, okay? If I want to do that, I can use my crop tool. So if I click on an image, I get a set of image editing tools. Now, if I click this thing, it says crop. I can click this and see it works a little differently than a lot of other photo editors. What I can do is sort of make this bigger or smaller, and then I can just move the area so that it fits the canvas in a certain way, so that, you know, let's maybe I just want this front part like that. Okay, and then I just hit the checkbox. And this is a non-destructive type of editing, which means the image has not been cropped, like I haven't lost anything from it. So if I click this again, and I can click this this little box right here, that's the uncrop. Okay, so that will reverse the crop. Additionally, if I want to add a caption to my image, it just puts one of these text boxes down here at the bottom. I'll call this ship. Okay, let's make that a little bigger. And I can drag this. Now watch this. This thing becomes independent. And if I want, I can put it on top. So I can kind of drag and drop that where I want it to go on the image. Okay, if I put it to the side, it makes another text box. But you know, you can do that with an image. Now that stays grouped with the image. Okay, so I might want to center this, and that's how it goes. So a couple little things I want to show in the presentation before we open up for questions. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. So let me open this back up, and I want to take a look at this this very last slide here. Some things to know about publishing. Some of it I already talked about. I just want to make sure I cover some of these things. When you're naming your published site, you have to choose a unique, unused name. We talked about that. Okay, if you make any changes to your site, you have to publish it again. So these changes I made since I did that publishing, it's not going to show live unless I hit that publish button again. I have to make sure I do that. Okay. To get the URL, the web drive, okay, we talked about that, getting the URL from up here when you view your published site. And if you need to change your published settings, let's say, remember I made this site public, completely public. Let's say that I decided I want to go back to only Stockton people. Okay, if I go here and I go to publish settings, it doesn't give me the option to do that. It's because once it's been published, it's up there. It's up on the web with its published settings. So the only way to fix that is to unpublish it. See this? It's right here from this drop-down menu. So if I select unpublished, I'll click. It's warning me that it's no longer going to be public. Now, if I go back to publish, I have those settings back again. So I can manage this, and I can go to the published version. I can change that, and I want to make this only people at Stockton. I can hit save, and I can hit done. Now I'm back to where I started. Okay, so that is a good basic look at all the things you can do with a Google site, at least from the beginning stages. So what I want to do is open things up for questions. And I see some new people have joined us since we began. So Faisal, can you enable their mics?
My question, hi,
Hello.
hi, Pearl. I please explain again how much I have for the link for the on the for the YouTube or the link for YouTube. Check out for the link for YouTube the pay.
Right.
How much I need play again this.
What, the thing I just did?
Yes.
Well, Faisal's going to put that up tonight or tomorrow morning, and then it'll be in the same place where you got to the other one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that's good. Yeah, this pretty much, if you watch this and practice it, you'll have a pretty solid foundation of creating a site.
I think, Phil, Luis was asking if you can show him again how you put in a YouTube.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was asking for the link to the YouTube video. Okay. Yes, I'll do that. Let me put that on. I'll pick a page to put that on. Let's put that on dining. Okay. So I'm going to find I want to do a YouTube video. So I need to be on the insert. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm going to go to YouTube, and I'm going to put the name of or topic of video that I'm looking for. So let's do something on fishing. Okay. Fishing for giant offshore permit. Okay. So let me just pick that. And so once you do that, you just select it.
Yes.
And put it in. It looks like this guy got himself a nice fish. Okay.
Okay. I got it.
Okay. Now there is an alternative. Now this has just changed recently, so if this doesn't work, we're gonna have to all pretend it's funny. But I'm pretty sure it'll work. I'm gonna go to the insert menu, and let's say that we have a YouTube video, and we found it actually on YouTube, and okay, and we just have one. It doesn't really matter. Here's our advertisement. Okay, so let's say I want this video. You see this URL right here? This is another way to do it. I can copy this, and you have to do it from a different menu option now. So let me delete this one, and I'm going to go over here to embed and see by URL and by code. I want to do by URL and click insert. Something went wrong. That should typically work. It could have been the video I picked or something like that. Let me see. Sometimes you just get a crash when you're working too, and that's what it looks like. But let me try that one more time. Let's see if it was just a fluke. So that looks good. That's pretty much, I mean, that should be working. Oh, there it goes. See, I'm not a liar. Okay. So those are the two ways. So if you do it from here, you can do the search. And if you do it from the embed, you just put in the link from the URL from the top of the screen at this place at YouTube. And then the other option is if I click on YouTube, you can also do uploaded. Which basically what these are anything that had been uploaded to my Google channel, to the channel that I'm logged into. So this just basically limits me to only my videos from my own channel. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions?
On this time, I don't have other questions. It's fine for right now.
Okay. Well, you know where to find me if you have a question.